Hey, April.
Yeah, Simon.
What did the pizza say to the box?
I don't know, Simon. What did the pizza say to the box?
You got me covered.
Oh my gracious. So cheesy. Ah.
Oh. I can see you're getting into it now. After 15 seasons. Anyway. Hi, everybody. My name is Simon Majumdar, and welcome to Eat My Globe, a podcast about things you didn't know about food. And on today's episode, we're going to be looking at the origins of food delivery. That's right, those wonderful people who drop off fried chicken, Chinese food, and those delicious pork ribs and pizza. In modern terms, people will often say that food delivery and take-out, or take-away as it's known in Britain, are the same thing. So just to be clear, take-out is, as our old chums at Merriam-Webster say, quote, of or relating to selling or being food not to be consumed on the premises. End quote. And from personal experience, ordering food for takeout, the food is freshly cooked and there are no additional fees other than the price of the food. Online food delivery, on the other hand, means, according to the authors from the International Journal of Hospitality Management, as, quote, referring to online channel that consumers use to order food from restaurants and fast food retailers, end quote. The authors also note that food delivery may be delivered by the restaurants themselves or third parties. Again, from my personal experience, food delivery involves the customer waiting for the food to be delivered, where the food may not be delivered immediately. Also, it's customary to provide the delivery person with a tip or gratuity. For the restaurant or third-party delivery platforms, food delivery may lead to increased revenue. In the United States alone, this sector would be $353 billion industry, which is an amazing amount. It will be this sector that the food delivery and online delivery systems that we're going to look at today. For those of you who think that the food delivery is a modern invention, one only needs to look at ancient Roman society in the blighted area of Pompeii, which was buried in the ashes of Mount Vesuvius in CE 79. Recently discovered, there was a Roman version of a snack stall or fast food operation known as thermopolium. This word comes from the Greek word thermos, which means hot, and polio, which means to sell. Although this may seem more like a restaurant, it showed that the ancient Romans, many who did not have space for an oven in their living quarters, needed a place where they could get ready-made food. They served dishes that included ingredients like pork, goat, fish, snails, and fava beans. Quote, lentil, meat, cheese, and a type of warm spice wine called Kalida were all staples. End quote. But what about delivering food itself? In China, during the Southern Song dynasty, around the years 1127 to 1279, the restaurants there had, quote, 24-hour meal and drink delivery services, end quote, according to the government of Hangzhou in China. Quote, archaeologists discovered that people in the Southern Song dynasty use a thick bottom plate with a double-layered hollow inside. One or two round holes are pierced on the top of the plate to inject hot water and ensure that food is still warm when it arrives, end quote, which is amazing. And in the Qing dynasty, which lasted from 1644 to 1911, restaurants delivered dishes in a picnic container to the waterfronts for people to pick up. So yeah, Chinese food delivery has been going on forever. Meanwhile, in Korea, it looks like a diarist called Hwang Yung-seok wrote that in July 1768 he ordered a buckwheat noodle dish for delivery after he finished an exam. For the record, that noodle dish is called nanmyeon. It was apparently very popular with the aristocrats, so much so that the dish got delivered to them. In Japan, it looks like a form of food delivery started around the Edo period of 1603 to 1868. That's when roving entrepreneurs sold food like noodles, grilled eel, and more by balancing the dishes on sticks on their shoulders and sold them to people. Similarly, in England during the time of the Restoration period, so called because it restored the monarchy and which covered the period from King Charles II came to the throne to the end of his reign in 1865. Hawkers also sold foods like fruit, vegetables and fish by going to people's homes or sold them in the streets to people by often carrying their wares on their head. According to Londonist, this method of carrying food left, quote, the food horribly exposed to birds and ejecting liquids from above, end quote. I'll leave you to ponder what liquids from above might mean. By the Victorian period, William Mayhew, a journalist and one of the most influential writers of the time, who lived from 1812 to 1887, wrote about London food delivery in his seminal 4-volume work, London Labour and the London Poor, published from 1851 to 1862. The delivery was not necessarily of a cooked dish, but of meat. Quote, sent their boys, or men, on fast-trotting horses to take orders from the dwellers in the suburbs, which were away from the shop thoroughfares, and afterwards to deliver the orders, still travelling on horseback, at the customer's door. End quote. Perhaps one of the most famous incidences of food delivery would occur in Italy in the 19th century. Italy became a country on March the 17th, 1861, with Victor Emmanuel II as the first king of Italy. Before that, many areas, including Florence, Naples, Milan, and Genoa, were independent states. So yes, technically speaking, the country of the United States is older than the country of Italy. Interesting stuff. In 1878, Umberto I became the second king of Italy. His wife, Margherita Teresa Giovanna of Savoy, was also known as Queen Margherita. The legend says that in 1889, Queen Margherita and King Umberto visited Naples. At the time, French cuisine was de rigueur for royalty, so that's what the Neapolitans served them. Unfortunately, the Queen supposedly got bored of the French cuisine during their visit. So the courtiers called a local chef called Raffaele Esposito to bring food. Raffaele was the chef or pizzaiola of Pizzeria Brandi, which specialized, as the name suggests, in pizza. Raffaele delivered 3 types of pizza, one with lard, basil, and caciocavallo, which is a type of cheese, a second pizza made with anchovies, and a third pizza made with tomatoes, mozzarella, and basil. The Queen apparently loved this last pizza, and Raffaele named this pizza the Margherita Pizza in her honor. Incidentally or not, this Margherita Pizza contains the colors of the flag of the new country of Italy. Basil is green, mozzarella is white, and tomatoes are red. The legend continues that Raffaele asked for a note from the Queen to place a royal endorsement for his pizzas, which, as I have seen, is still there. Now, historians have argued that this was just a legend, but whether it's true or not, it is a great story. And in any case, Pizzeria Brandy is still there and still telling the story. 1 year after Raffaelli supposedly delivered pizza to the Queen in 1890, in Mumbai, India, another food delivery began to happen. Madheo Bache was your regular worker during the British Raj who just wanted to have a home-cooked meal during his lunch break. So one day he hired someone to bring over his tiffin from his house. A tiffin is, according to Merriam-Webster, quote, a light midday meal, end quote. This word was taken from a British term that meant, quote, alteration of tiffing, gerund of obsolete English tiff, to eat between meals, end quote. The British first started tiffing during the colonial times in India, where they skipped lunch because it was so hot, and so they only had a light snack around 3 p.m. Anyway, Bache was so pleased with his tiffin delivery, he started a business. He hired 100 men who later became known as dabawalas and who delivered meals from the workers' home to the workers' office every day. Dabwala means, quote, one who carries the box, end quote. More than 135 years after Bache started his unique food delivery business, this type of food delivery is still thriving in India. As Ashita Bhargava puts it in the Times Now News, quote, Mumbai's dabawalas are the city's unsung lifeline, delivering over 200,000 home-cooked lunches daily with 99.99% accuracy, come rain, riots, or rail delays, end quote. Dabawalas deliver these meals to workers in a cylindrical steel container that carry their meal and even maybe a dessert. These containers are called tiffin boxes or dabas. There are over 5,000 dabawalas who cover the city on bicycles after collecting their dabas from each person from the railway station. I have been in offices with my uncle in Mumbai as dabawalas deliver these tiffins at exactly 1 p.m. It is an extraordinary sight. Again, as Ashita Bhargava puts it, quote, each tiffin is marked with a system of colour-coded letters, numbers and symbols, denoting collection point, train station, destination building, floor, and sometimes even the desk, end quote. And the error rate? Apparently 1 per 16 million food deliveries. Astonishing. So for all office workers out there, be inspired by Mahadeo Havachi Bachache, who created a hugely popular and unique business because he just wanted to have a home-cooked meal delivered to his office desk. This is the point where I wanted to give a huge shout-out to David Colling for his suggestion that we should also feature a wonderful organisation by the name of Meals on Wheels on the podcast. So here goes. Meals on Wheels is a program that helps address hunger and isolation in the elderly and infirm population. It is believed that the very first mention of this term, Meals on Wheels, appeared on October the 28th, 1943, in the Welling Times in England. By December 1943, the first Meals on Wheels food delivery occurred in Welling Garden City, again in England, where British restaurants prepared the food and members of the Women's Volunteer Service delivered the food. What prompted this food delivery? There was a flu epidemic happening, and so the food delivery was meant to help the elderly and the ill. It kept on going because, quote, it was a job well worth doing because it partly fills a badly felt need, end quote. This food delivery program was also brought on by the Blitz, which was a concentrated barrage of German bombs that hit primarily London from September the 7th, 1940 to May 11th, 1941, during World War II. During that 8-month period, nearly 43,000 people were killed. It also left many elderly people desperate to be fed, which Meals on Wheels was trying to rectify. In 1956, Meals on Wheels delivered over 1 million meals. By 1962, Meals on Wheels served over 4 million meals. It is perhaps a very British thing that when asked how the name came about, Lady Reading, the founder of the Women's Volunteer Service that started Meals on Wheels, suggested that it was, quote, given its name over lunch at her home by her driver, end quote. By 1954, Meals on Wheels had been established in the United States in Philadelphia by Margaret Toy. The U.S. Meals on Wheels now serves over 2 million people in the country per year. It has 5,000 providers throughout the country. Meals on Wheels is also in Canada, Australia, and many other countries. A wonderful organisation. Not bad for something that was named by Lady Reading's driver. Let's move on and talk about one of my favourite food deliveries, as it is in many countries, including the USA and the UK, Chinese food delivery. I briefly touched on its history earlier, but now let's talk about its modern iteration. In 1922, a Los Angeles restaurant, Kinchu Cafe, began advertising in the newspaper that it was, quote, the only place on the West Coast making and delivering real Chinese dishes, end quote. And they delivered from 11 a.m. to 1 a.m. Wow. It's interesting to note that the Chinese food delivery boxes, you know the one where it's a paper folded box, is all American. It was invented in the US in 1894 to be used for something else entirely. On November the 13th, 1894, a Chicago man called Frederick Weeks Wilcox patented these boxes not to carry Chinese food, but to create oyster pails meant to carry oysters. Isn't that interesting? Anyway, by the 1970s, someone put a pagoda design on these boxes, and they've been connected with Chinese food delivery since. It's something I recall seeing on many television shows when I was a child in the UK. These Chinese food delivery boxes were so synonymous that it told me what I was watching was from the USA. Even now, when I receive a Chinese takeout here in the US, I still feel a little shiver whenever I open a carton of fried rice or chow mein. By 1994, the internet was in its nascent period, but even then it began to have an impact on food delivery. Pizza Hut, the famous pizza establishment, began to advertise their pizzas on a website called PizzaNet for customers in Santa Cruz, California. It seemed to me, though, that ordering was a bit complicated. Here was the process. A customer viewed the menu via the internet, then entered their order. That order was sent to the headquarters in Wichita, Kansas, then directed to the local Pizza Hut via the internet. Then the local Pizza Hut would verify the order with the customer via a phone call. The customer paid on delivery. It was an early attempt at online food ordering and delivery, for sure. In 1995, two MIT and Stanford University Business School graduates, Michael Alderberg and Craig Cohen, created a website to allow customers in Silicon Valley to order food online from various restaurants for takeout or delivery. They called their website Worldwide Waiter, although they have since renamed it Waiter. Customers went on their website, chose a restaurant, put in their order and payment information, and chose delivery or pickup. But the orders were relayed to the restaurant via fax. Again, early days of the internet, but they claim to be the first of its kind to offer online ordering and restaurant food delivery. And it does seem that Waiter's business model can still be found in popular apps today. In 1999, Seamless Web launched in New York, and in 2011, Seamless Web merged with Grubhub, which was founded in 2004 in Chicago. Thereafter, DoorDash was created in 2013 and Uber Eats in 2014. These online ordering and food delivery websites or apps meant that the restaurants don't need to have the infrastructure to deliver food. They just need the facilities to prepare the food. Which brings us to the COVID-19 pandemic. If you recall, we were all at stay-at-home orders, which prompted many people to have their groceries or their meals delivered. In 2025, takeout, delivery, and drive-through dining has, according to the chief economist at the National Restaurant Association, quote, become a key revenue driver and an essential way to engage consumers. It now accounts for a larger share of sales for 58% of limited service and 41% of full-service operators compared with 2019, providing a critical path to restaurant resilience and growth despite ongoing economic pressures. End quote. This meant for many restaurants who previously did not deliver, they now had to do so through third-party distribution or by themselves. After all, as the National Restaurant Association found in 2025, quote, 37% of adults order delivery once a week, and more than 6 in 10 of younger adults say they use takeout, drive-through and delivery more often now than they did a year ago. End quote. So finally, let's see some of the worldwide figures for food delivery. China was the largest food delivery market in the world in 2024, with the US coming in second. Also, in 2024, Uber Eats was the most popular food delivery app in the world, while in the US, DoorDash was more popular. My own feeling on food delivery is it is a great thing, although one must also see the degradation of the food from what is served in the restaurant to what appears at home. Also, there are styles of food which are much more suited to the delivery system. It is always fun to eat a Chinese delivery when you're watching television with your family or friends while arguing who gets the last pork rib, and to eat a burger while arguing about the results of the sporting occasion on television. One just needs to choose carefully. But above all, please remember to tip your driver or delivery person who works as hard as anybody to get that food to you in all weathers, okay? They are the heroes of food delivery. See you next week, folks. Make sure to check out the website associated with this podcast at www.eatmyglobe.com, where we'll be posting the transcripts from each episode, along with all the references and resources we used putting the episodes together, in case you want to delve deeper into each subject. There is also a contact button, so please do let us know if there are any subjects that you would like us to cover. And if you like what you hear, please don't forget to join us on Patreon. Subscribe, recommend us to your family and friends, give us a good rating on your favourite podcast provider. Thank you, and goodbye from me, Simon Majumdar. We'll speak to you soon on the next episode of Eat My Globe. Things you didn't know about food. The Eat My Globe podcast is a production of It's Not Much But It's Ours and Producer Girl Productions. We would also like to thank Sybil Villanueva for all her help both with the editing of the transcripts and her essential help with the research.